Welcome, everybody. We are here live with Jay Owen for Remote Leadership Unleashed, presented by Quickly Hire. Really excited to be here. If you're watching, we are live streaming right now on Quickly Hire LinkedIn, Quickly Hire YouTube, and Quickly Hire Facebook. So if you're watching anywhere, go ahead and say hi. Let us know where you're watching from. If you're checking out the recording, you can still comment. We'd love to see you. And I go back and check those comments and respond. So let me know you're watching. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And we're happy to have you here. So we'll just jump right in. So this is Remote Leadership Unleashed, expert perspectives on hiring, managing, and scaling distributed teams, where we have really great leaders in the industry, people like Jay Owen, come here, answer some questions, give you tips, and you walk away with more tools in your toolbox to succeed in managing your team. So first, I want to say a couple words about Quickly Hire. Quickly Hire is the fastest way to add vetted freelancers to your team. At Quickly Hire, we understand the importance of assembling top-tier talent for your business, whether you need a developer, a content marketer, designer, virtual assistant, or any other technical or creative professional, we've got you covered. Our platform connects you with highly vetted freelancers who match your budget requirements and your work requirements, ensuring you find the perfect fit for your team. And we're getting ready to announce some new roles pretty soon here. So we're going to have social media experts, SEO specialists, paid ad specialists, project managers, things folks have been asking for. We've been out there, we've been finding them and assessing their skills and getting them in the network. So stay tuned for that. We're really excited to announce those new roles coming up. So enough about Quickly Hire. Today, we are very excited to have a special guest joining us, and that is Jay Owen. Jay Owen is the CEO of Business Builders and a seasoned business growth expert. As the CEO of Business Builders, Jay has empowered organizations of all sizes to garner attention and acquire customers. With Business Builders recognized as a top StoryBrand Certified Agency and a HubSpot Platinum Partner, Jay brings a wealth of experience in scaling businesses to the table. That's what we're all about here. So really happy to have him. And he's also made the Inc. 5000 list twice. He's a proven leader in the industry. Thank you for joining us today, Jay. It's great to have you. Welcome.
Hey, Emily, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we can start off this interview. Maybe just give a little brief background on your experience managing remote team members. Have they been full-time members of your team? Have they been contractors? A little bit of both. What's that look like for you?
Sure. I've done a little bit of all of it over time. I started this business when I was 17 years old, which was 25 years ago this year. So that's pretty exciting, quarter of a century. And at the beginning, I started a lot like many agency owners and leaders do, which is all by myself. You know, I was designing things and writing things and coding things and really was not an expert at any of it. I just tried to figure it out along the way. I was kind of the jack of all trades. And at some point, I reached the point that many other people reach where they go, gosh, there's just things that I can't do and I need somebody else to help me. Or they go, there's so many things that I have the opportunity to do. I need somebody else to do some of these things. And so I need to outsource some of that. And so I have done everything from outsource things to people all over the world, to work with contractors in my local community, to building full-time teams and hybrid combinations as well. So it probably took me, gosh, years before I hired my first full-time team member, but I used a lot of contractors along the way. And one thing I've certainly learned is the old, adage of if you want it done right, you got to do it yourself is completely wrong. And at some point we have to build teams, or otherwise we're putting ourselves, we're building prisons instead of playgrounds. And I think businesses should be playgrounds.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. And I really like that saying too. And you're right. We can't be experts at everything, right? So if you need to increase traffic to your site, things like that, you're not an SEO expert. Hire someone with the expertise and the skills to do that for you. So I love that bit of wisdom there. So let's jump right into the questions that we go over. So one of the challenges people often face with managing remote team members is keeping them motivated. What are some ways you've done that when you've had remote contractors or team members?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of opinions about this. I'm not sure motivation can be like manifested in people. I think a good leader's job is to encourage them, though, and to create the right opportunities for them to grow. And so some of that is around compensation planning. Some of it is around structure of what kind of work you're giving them. I mean, I always say everybody, all of us, me included, work for three reasons: freedom, money, and purpose. And each one of those three things over different seasons of life and different seasons of business matter more than others. There might be some seasons where you really value freedom more than you do even more money. I mean, I've got 5 teenagers at home right now, and I realized very quickly I only have so many years left. And so I very highly value freedom. If somebody said, hey, I can give you a whole nother business worth a whole nother multi-millions of dollars right now, but you'd have to work twice as much, I'd be like, no, thank you. Because I value freedom right now. And so I think um, motivating teams, whether they're remote teams or in-person teams, is ultimately a question of understanding who they are. What do they actually want in their lives, and then how can the business help provide that in some way where it's an equitable trade? You know, they're providing some kind of value to the business, and the business is providing some kind of value to them, which usually revolves around one of those three things: freedom, money, and purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Understanding what motivates each individual, and it's not even your team as a whole, it's each individual person. And that's the only way you're going to get anywhere on that.
That's right. And it's
Yeah.
different, and it's different for them too in different seasons of life. You know, like when I was young and wasn't married and had no kids, my priorities and desires and objectives were very different than they are now with 5 teenagers in my house, married to my wife as well. So it's like, you know, what somebody needs now, if they're still in your team 5 or 10 years ago, or five or 10 years from now, don't assume that what they wanted then is what they want now, because all of us, things change as life goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really wise words there. I love that. And also understanding that when understanding the motivations of each individual, and if you're able to meet that, right, you know, that's not always the number one priority for your business either. So keeping that in check as well is important. Moving on, when you're building your team or growing your team or identifying areas that you want to bring someone into, what qualities do you look for? And this is specifically speaking to freelancers and contractors. What are you looking for apart from the specialized skills of that specific role? What else do you look for in a freelancer or contractor?
I mean, gosh, the number one thing for anybody who is not going to be in a room with me on a regular basis, somebody who's remote, is communication. Like, are they regularly communicating? I always tell people one of the biggest mistakes that people make when working with a new team is they'll wait to reply to something until it's done. And if it's going to take you a couple of days or even a couple of weeks to get something done, do not wait to reply to that thing. When an email comes in or a message comes in, you know, I over indexed in the early days with clients, probably too much so. Honestly, I had to dial it back a little bit in being the fastest to reply. And so I think if I'm dealing with a contractor, especially somebody who's not in my time zone, you know, I need to know that they're actually getting what I'm sending out, because there can be delays and time issues. And so just a quick response going, hey, I got your message. I'm working on it. It's probably going to take me X amount of time before I have something tangible for you. And then I can go, okay, great. And I don't feel like I'm dumping something into a black hole. So the number one thing I'm looking for is really speed and quality of communication turnaround at the beginning when I'm dealing with any kind of remote team member, contractor, or employee.
Yes, I'm so happy to hear you say that. That's the number one thing. That's something we vet and assess for when we're bringing folks into the network at Quickly Hire. On the Quickly Hire team, we work with so many of our contractors as well, and that's something I'm always saying. You know, I need acknowledgement that you saw this. It doesn't need to be done by
That's right.
tomorrow or by the end of the week, but I need to know you know about it, and give updates. That's all there is to it, right? Hey, I worked on this today. I'm going to work on it more tomorrow, or expect to have it done by the end of the week. It's so easy. Just block off 5 minutes at the beginning of your day, 5 minutes at the end, and just give some updates, keep people informed. So important. I love to hear that, because I could not agree with you more. Any tips on how to identify that quality in a contractor or freelancer or a full-time team member? What are you looking for in the hiring process that that helps you identify that kind of skill?
Well, I think it all goes into the original conversation. So when we start having initial conversations around whether somebody is capable of doing a job, you know, I'm looking for two things: attitude and aptitude. Like, are they the kind of person who are going to ask 50 bajillion questions, or are they going to go, you know what, I think I have an idea. I'm going to try and figure this out and create some kind of solution. Are they the kind of person that's going to wait, 3 days to reply to my email, or do I get an email the same afternoon that I sent it in? Those things matter a lot. And I'm not asking people to bend over backwards and destroy their lives, to communicate with me, but I am asking for timely, responsive messaging. And so when we first have a conversation with somebody, I want to see like uh, a certain level of desire for them to go, hey, I'm ready and available. I want to help. And if it's not there, no problem. They just might not be a good fit for us. And so
Yeah.
we're assessing those things from the very beginning of any conversation that we have with a new team member, regardless of where they're at.
Yeah, I think with communication skills, it's obvious, in everything that they do, right? So yeah, that's really it's the easiest thing to identify in a lot of ways, as long as you're looking for it and placing that importance on it. So really, really great info there. Um, Talking about hiring, how do you decide which role to hire next? You're working with a lot of businesses, growing businesses, helping them scale. Like you said at the beginning, there are a million holes in any business, right? But there's only so much budget to fill those holes. How do you determine which position to hire next, and which deserves the most attention right now?
Sure. It depends on the size of the organization, and also to some extent what kind of firepower they already have in there. So, a lot of agencies in my worlds are starting out, but like I did, as a solopreneur trying to figure it out. And so it matters a lot like where their skill sets are. And so, for example, I am a decent designer. I'm not a great designer. I'm better than most people, but not better than most designers. I'm a below average programmer. I'm not I'm better than most people, but I'm not better than almost any programmer that's actually a developer, right? And so I very quickly go, when I need some subject matter experts to solve for these things. I love the way that Michael Hyatt talks about this in the book called Free to Focus. And he helps leaders go, hey, what are the things that I'm really good at and that I love to do? In a perfect world, which we don't live in, but let's try and move as close to it as we can. I would like 80% of my day to be things that I'm very good at and I love to do. I love to be on podcasts. I love to be on stages. I love to have opportunities to share ideas and information with people. I love doing that. If I could do it all day, every day, I probably would, and that's literally part of my role here at the agency. One of the 3 things that I'm responsible for is show up on podcasts, show up on stages, in person or virtual, and because it makes an impact, but if I wasn't geared that way, I might need to find somebody who was that. And so for me in the early days, I think most agency leaders need to start with some kind of virtual assistant, somebody to take a lot of the day-to-day things off of their hands that they can't do. And I like to think of it this way. Number one, if I'm thinking about tasks that have to be done, and then as a result, roles that need to be hired, I think about 4 things. Number one, does it actually have to be done? Because the truth is we do a lot of things just because we've always done them that aren't actually creating that much value. They make us feel good because we're busy and we're checking a lot of stuff off, but they're not creating a lot of traction. And a lot of times we can just delete stuff and go, we don't need to do that anymore. Number 2, and this is becoming more and more like a question that matters a lot, is can I automate it? Is there a tool? Is there an AI, function of some kind that will help me automate this thing? And number 3 is, can I delegate it? Who can I delegate it to? And so if I find something that I go, I'm not very good at this, and I really don't like doing it. So for me in the early days, it was development work. So writing PHP, MySQL, all that kind of stuff. I was not very good at it and really didn't like to do it. It frustrated me. And so I went, okay, I need to find somebody who has these skill sets and they love to do it and they're good at doing it. And that really is the best way to go. Who is the next seat to fill on this bus so that we can keep moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's really smart. Would you say, this is not on the list of questions, but kind of based on what you said there, if someone's a solopreneur out there watching this, do you think a good smart move would be bringing in an assistant first off, and then identifying other roles? Like you kind of hinted at that a little bit, or would it be first identifying, what you're not that great at and you don't really love doing, and filling that role?
It depends on the person. So a lot of times I'm talking to the person, the leader themselves, and going, where are you at? You know, in the early days, I feel like I actually needed the technical expertise more than I needed an assistant, because I'm pretty good at automating a lot of the things that many assistants would do. But some people aren't like that, you know, and so if they're spending a lot of their day in their inbox, on their calendar, you know, replying to things many times the same ways, they need an assistant to deal with that first, because they can take a lot of time off their schedule. And then usually it's a subject matter expert thing, you know. Nobody in marketing land or in development land can do all the things. You know, there are people who are uniquely qualified with the gifts that God's given them to be great writers or great developers or great designers or whatever it may be. And I want to find those people. And um, I love the idea of something like Quickly Hire. To be fair, full transparency, we've not even officially used y'all yet. Maybe we will at some point. But I'm a big believer in contracting work out. Years ago, I made the decision that our agency would be a team of leaders, managers, and strategists. And so my internal full-time team, who is here in St. Augustine, Florida, are that. They are leaders, managers, and strategists. And we contract out just about everything else to people all over the world. Some people here in the United States, some people in South America, India, you name it, all over the world. Because I believe everybody deserves a good job with a good wage, and people that actually care about them when they're doing that work. And so who the next person to hire is depends on who the leader is and what their particular deficiencies are. But most of the time, it's going to be some kind of an assistant first, even if they're a part-time VA, and then some kind of technical matter expert. But I love hiring contractors first before you start getting into employee land, because there's a whole nother layer of complexity involved when you start doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see that all the time at Quickly Hire, folks who, you know, dipping their toes in, figuring it out. And oftentimes they'll hire someone and work with them for, you know, more than a year, and then finally realize, hey, it's time to either bring that person in internally full time or start looking full time, because they know that's the role that they need filled
No doubt.
ongoing. All right, let's see. Let's jump ahead to a few questions here. We talked about automation. That's so big for growing a business, scaling a business, identifying where you can automate. What are some tools or technologies that you use to facilitate that sort of thing in your business, or that you advise your businesses that you coach to use?
I mean, over the last year, there's nothing that's been more valuable than ChatGPT. You know, everybody's into, you know, playing with this AI stuff, but it is like having a genius assistant, you know, all the time. And if you're an agency owner or leader, or really any business, you know, executive or leader, and you're not using it, you are going to be left behind. So you can think and feel however you want about AI. If you're not using it in your daily application of business, you're going to get beat. You just are. Because everybody else is going to be able to move faster, smarter, better. And so having that, I kind of like to think of it as, remember that old TV show? There was one called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And they'd have this thing where it was like phone a friend. And so if you had some question on history, and you had like Susie, who was like your history friend, and you had like Bob, who was your math friend, you know, and you got those questions, you would call Bob because it was a math question, and he would help you solve that problem. And that's kind of how I think of ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other, you know, generative AI tools that are out there now. They've been revolutionary in how we brainstorm, because I'm just going to run it through its filter and go, hey, here's what I'm thinking. What am I missing? And gosh, it's wild, some of the stuff that it's come back with and the things that it's helped us with. So as a tool goes, there's nothing that's been more impactful to us in the last 12 months than generative AI.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say, I mean, it sounds like you use it daily, multiple times daily.
Oh yeah, all day. It's an open tab. It's a constant open tab. It never closes.
Yeah, same here. That's great. That's great to hear. All right, I want to keep. We say we try to keep these interviews to 20 minutes.
Well, so good luck with me talking. So
no, but it's been gold. Really good stuff here. So thanks for joining. This question's a little bit different. It takes a different angle. How do you know when it's time to let someone go? Right. So you have this team of contractors. You have this team of full-time internal team members. How do you know when it's time to shift course, or if someone's not the right fit? How quickly do you make that decision? How long do you let someone prove themselves if you know it's not working out?
Great question. I hate letting people go, whether it's contractors or team members. I hate breaking up. It's not fun. But one thing I'm really careful about is people always say things like, hire slowly, fire quickly. I actually don't believe that at all. I think that firing quickly means that you didn't do a good enough job vetting in the hiring process. And so one of the things I'm really careful about is going, have we as a team, whoever's in charge of this particular team of people or this individual, have we been really clear with our feedback? Because a lot of times we hold our feedback back because we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. But there's nothing worse than getting let go, whether you're a contractor or an employee. Like that's no fun. We don't want that. And it is the right thing to do. And it is the most caring thing to do, to be exceptionally clear with our language. The book Radical Candor by Kim Scott changed my perspective on this. And I used to be the leader that they called ruinously empathetic. I would care deeply, no question, but I would be so hesitant to give clear feedback. And now I've tried so hard, and I can still working at it to go, have I been really clear with my feedback? Or the things that I'm thinking in my head that are really agitating me, have I expressed those verbally and said, hey, can I give you some feedback? When you do this, it actually creates a lot of frustration for everybody. Is that something you think we can work on? And if I've not done that, it is irresponsible to let that person go. It is nearly inhumane, I would say. And so the right thing to do when you're letting somebody, or you think you have to let somebody go, is to ask the question, have I been exceptionally clear with what's not working and what my expectations are? Because I always say this, that expectations are the primary reason that all relationships fail. Friends, marriages, team workers, co-workers, clients, you name it. If I expect this and you expect that, and those two things are too far apart, then we have a problem, and it's probably not going to work out. But communication is the bridge that connects those expectations. And so if I'm exceptionally clear as this person's leader, it's going to go really good. Or it's not, and they're not going to be able to meet those expectations, and we're going to have to part ways. And that's okay too, because I would say that most of the time with people that I've had to let go, whether they were team members or contractors, it was in everybody's best interest. Because quite frankly, if it's not going well for the company, it's probably not going well for them either. And so let's set them free to do something that they're made to do.
Yeah, I love that, because I think in general, human nature, if you know what the expectations are and it's clear you're not meeting them, you're not feeling good.
No.
Right. And nobody wants to stay in a situation where they're not feeling good. So yeah, I love that. Making sure super clear on the expectations, letting people know when they're doing great, when they can improve, and the rest kind of falls into place on its own.
It does.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice there. Jay, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything we didn't cover that you would love to share out there about remote teams? We talk about in other we talked about communication being paramount. Are there any tools that you really count on for that? Anything like that? Any last tips or tricks that you want to share?
I would just say, for anybody who's leading teams, remote or not, is just realize you're dealing with a person on the other side. And it's very difficult to know what people are actually going through in a day. And I like to try and operate on the side of caring for the person, erring on the side of grace. And I found that to work really well, while also being exceptionally clear with what is necessary in order to receive the compensation for this particular role, because we're all just trading time for money at the end of the day. And so care for people and run profitable businesses. And if you run profitable businesses, you get to care for more people. And that's a real gift and a real responsibility for all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jay. Where can people find you if they like what they hear and they're looking for more?
You can grab a copy of my book at getjaysbook.com. I wrote a book called Building a Business That Lasts. I actually wrote it at our 20th anniversary 5 years ago, how to build a business without being stressed out and worn out and ready to quit. So getjaysbook.com. You can get a free copy and have it sent to you.
Awesome. I'm putting that in the comments now so people can check that out. Jay, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great meeting you. It was great learning from your expertise and your wisdom over 25 years, is that what you said, in this
right.
business? So that's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, Emily. All the best.
All right. Bye. Thanks to everybody who joined us and tuned in live, and everyone who's watching the recordings as well. We'll see you at the next one.